In Laboratory Reddit, today's story is...
My mother abandoned her baby, returned 6 years later for my father's money, and threw away his belongings when he died. What we did on her wedding day was pure justice. During her university years, my mom became pregnant. Although she was dating my dad at the time, she did not want to raise a baby. After I was born, she ended her relationship with him and gave up all her rights as a mother, leaving me completely in his care. From that moment on, my dad became my everything. He took sole responsibility for raising me, with the valuable support of my grandparents. Thanks to the three of them, I never felt that something was missing in my life. My father always showed his love and constant presence, making sure that I felt loved and protected. My grandparents were also extraordinary, giving me so much affection and warmth that I never experienced any emptiness. The three of them constituted my real family. My mother never showed any interest in getting to know me. She never called or visited, nor did she try to find out anything about my existence. This situation continued until I was 6 years old. By then, my father had managed, after a lot of effort, to get an important job in a prestigious company. This allowed us to leave my grandparents' house and start an independent life, which represented a new beginning for us. However, unexpectedly, my mother decided to reappear. After years of absence, she suddenly expressed a desire to be part of our lives. She said she missed my father and wanted to be part of our family. I honestly think that many in my situation would have been happy to have their mother back. But even as a child, I couldn't feel anything but antipathy towards her. Something about her made me feel uneasy, although I didn't understand exactly why. I never understood what my father found in her, or why he forgave her so quickly. He seemed completely captivated, almost blinded by his feelings towards her. If it had been up to me, I would have preferred not to have anything to do with her at all. She constantly acted as if she were an extraordinary mother. From the beginning, she insisted that I call her by her name instead of mom or mother, especially in front of other people. I thought it made her seem younger or closer. To me, it just seemed strange. As I grew older, her behavior became even more uncomfortable. In high school, when she brought friends home, she would act overly friendly with everyone, particularly the boys. Obviously, this was not normal, and it made me feel embarrassed. I remember how many of my male friends confessed to me that they were attracted to her. I hated to hear that, but I couldn't blame them because my mother intentionally acted inappropriately with them. She wore overly revealing clothes in their presence and always made provocative comments to them. During my graduation party, some friends and I were by the pool. Out of the blue, my mother appeared wearing an extremely revealing tiny bikini. She then lay down and asked one of my friends to apply sunscreen to her. My other friends started cheering and laughing. It was an embarrassing and humiliating situation for me. I remember intensely wishing that she would just go back inside and let me enjoy myself with my friends. Whenever I tried to talk about these incidents with my father, he always minimized the situation as if it were not important. It was frustrating because I clearly perceived what was happening, but he seemed not to see it or chose to ignore it. Deep down, I always knew that my mother didn't really love him. She was with him out of convenience and ease. He represented stability, economic security, and complete devotion to her. She reaped all the benefits, but I doubt she ever reciprocated with the same kind of love. When she became pregnant with my brother, another complicated situation arose. Initially, she was furious. She didn't want another child, and she told my father of her intention to have an abortion. She constantly mentioned how it would ruin his perfect body. They argued frequently about this, creating a tense environment for all of us. Finally, for reasons I will never fully understand, she changed her mind and decided to continue with the pregnancy. For this decision, I am deeply grateful. My brother means everything to me, and I cannot imagine my life without him. Despite the circumstances, I am enormously glad that he exists. Just as she was never there for me, she was never there for my brother either. It was always my father and I who took care of him. She remained completely absent from any parental responsibility. She never cooked for us, never cleaned, never shared family time. She seemed not to care about our fate, as long as she could continue with her shopping and outings with friends, using our father's money. Because of this, my father, my brother, and I naturally developed a strong bond. We formed a unit, our own family within the household. We supported each other and understood each other in a way that she never could. Over time, we simply accepted this reality. My brother and I stopped expecting anything from her. We rarely talked to her or spent time with her, except when it was absolutely necessary. We only saw her when we visited our father after we had moved away. Everything changed about a year ago when my father fell ill. After feeling unwell for a while, he underwent various medical tests, and the diagnosis was devastating. He had cancer. I cannot put into words how painful it was to receive this news. What followed was a long and exhausting process of treatments and chemotherapy. It was exhausting and heartbreaking to see him suffer, but my brother and I remained by his side at all times. My mother, on the other hand, remained completely disconnected from the situation. She acted as if the serious illness of her husband, the father of her children, was something insignificant. She continued with her usual life of shopping and social gatherings. Her indifference was outrageous and deeply painful. My brother and I did everything we could to help our father, but her lack of support made the situation much more difficult. Despite our efforts and medical treatment, we finally lost him. My father passed away after months of struggle, leaving an immense void in our lives. I cannot describe how much we miss him on a daily basis, and how we would give anything to have him back with us. The pain of losing our father is intensified by our mother's attitude after his death. To her, it seems as if his death were of no importance. She has shown no real pain or sadness, no sign of missing him. It is as if his passing had not affected her at all, which is heartbreaking for my brother and me. Fortunately, my father was farsighted and organized his will, making sure that my brother and I would inherit his house, while my mother received the money from his bank account. During the reading of the will, my mother was furious that she had not received the property. She felt entitled to it and openly expressed her anger. She even threatened to sue us, which was absurd. She thought she could intimidate us to get what she wanted. However, after consulting with lawyers, she probably realized that she had no legal grounds to proceed. Eventually, she calmed down and made a request of us. She wanted to stay in the house without paying rent. I immediately rejected this proposal. I told her that if she wanted to live there, she would have to pay rent like any other tenant. My refusal provoked a strong argument. She accused me of being unnecessarily harsh with her and claimed that I had always treated her unfairly for no good reason. She tried to make me feel guilty by claiming that Dad would have wanted her to stay in the house for free. I stood my ground and firmly replied that Dad was no longer present. The property now belonged to my brother and me, so it was no longer up to him to decide. If he wanted to stay, he had to pay. It was as simple as that. In the end, he reluctantly agreed to pay a minimal amount of rent. The reality is that my brother and I are financially secure and don't need the money. So it wasn't about the income itself. We just wanted to make it clear that it wasn't her house anymore and set boundaries. By creating a landlord-tenant relationship, we also ensured that if any future problems arose, we would have the legal right to evict her if necessary. Since Dad's death, Mom quickly reverted to her old ways. She started dating numerous men, which, honestly, didn't surprise us at all. It's always been that way. But 2 months ago, she introduced us to someone new, Jason. Jason is about our age, and to say that it's repulsive to see our mother with someone much younger than her would be an understatement. The whole situation is awkward and strange. For reasons we don't fully understand, Jason seems to despise my brother and me. He has shown open hostility towards us from the beginning, worsening over time. You see, since Dad's death, my brother and I have been gradually organizing and packing up his belongings. It has been an emotionally difficult process for both of us. That house contains countless memories of Dad's life, and sorting through his things means reliving them all. We have proceeded carefully, taking the time needed to pack and move everything respectfully. We have now packed and moved most of his belongings, but some boxes remained in the attic. These boxes contained Dad's heavier items, and it was impossible to move them all at once, so we decided to deal with them gradually. We felt they were safe there, at least temporarily, but Jason had other plans. He has constantly complained about the way we are handling Dad's belongings. According to him, we are unnecessarily complicating the process by carefully packing and storing everything. He repeatedly suggested that we should just get rid of everything. He insists that clinging to the belongings of someone who has passed away is pointless, and that we would feel better if we got rid of them. His comments have been insensitive and cruel, but my brother and I have ignored them, concentrating on honoring our father's memory in our own way. Then, something shocking happened this week. My brother and I went to the house to finally collect Dad's last possessions, only to discover that the attic was completely empty. We were stunned. Those boxes, the last vestiges of Dad's life that we hadn't yet moved, were gone. When we asked Mom, she feigned ignorance, claiming not to know the whereabouts of the boxes. This seemed suspicious to me, so I confronted Jason. His response infuriated me completely, and with an arrogant attitude, he admitted to having thrown them away. He explained that the boxes took up too much space in the attic and he needed room for his own things. He didn't even try to apologize. Instead, he justified his actions by saying that it was preferable to get rid of them and move on. At that moment, I felt an uncontrollable rage. I couldn't believe his arrogance and complete lack of respect, not only towards my father, but also towards my brother and me. Those boxes were not just objects to us. They were fragments of our father's life, memories that we would never get back. That he would carelessly throw them away like rubbish felt like an unforgivable offense. To clarify, Jason lives for free in the house with my mother. Meanwhile, she pays us a much lower rent compared to similar properties in the area. It is a 4-bedroom house, and these boxes were in an attic that Mom rarely used or where she almost never kept things. If Jason didn't want the boxes there, he could have called us, and my brother and I would have gone immediately to remove them personally. There was definitely no reason to get rid of them. Mom could have also warned us. Jason clearly deliberately threw away Dad's belongings out of spite, without caring how much those items meant to us or the memories they held. I yelled at Jason, demanding to know why he had committed such a cruel act. My brother, equally furious, approached Jason menacingly and threatened to hit him. Jason's arrogant expression quickly disappeared. For the first time, he showed real fear. He began to back away, but continued to speak, insisting that he had personally checked the boxes and determined that they were simply worthless junk. His audacity made me even more furious. Who was he to decide what was disposable and what wasn't? Those things belonged to our father. The situation worsened when my mother intervened in his defense. Until that moment, she had feigned total ignorance. She had pretended innocence, pretending to be unaware of the disappearance of the boxes. But when Jason began to feel cornered, she interceded to back him up. She tried to justify his actions, claiming that what Jason had done was completely reasonable. According to her, Jason had not acted maliciously, but out of concern for us. She had the audacity to claim that Jason disposed of Dad's belongings out of kindness, claiming that he was only trying to help us speed up our grieving process. Hearing her say that was disrespectful to both us and to the memory of my father. I angrily told my mother, with all the frustration I felt, that neither she nor Jason had the right to decide how my brother and I should process our grief. We had just lost our father, someone who had been fundamental in our lives, and it was completely normal to need time to assimilate that loss. Even if those boxes contained what they considered useless, it was not up to them to throw them away without consulting us first. Where was their compassion? My words did not seem to affect her. On the contrary, my mother scoffed and completely dismissed my feelings. She compared me to my father, as if that were some kind of insult. She mentioned how exasperating it was that I couldn't let things go. She blamed me for valuing objects that connected me to Dad, things that contained memories of him. She accused my brother and me of behaving childishly and sentimentally, and insisted that we needed to move on. Her words hurt me deeply. At that moment, my brother reached his limit. He looked directly at her and told her that if Dad hadn't married her, he would have cut her out of his life a long time ago. I had never seen him so enraged, and honestly, I completely understand. Jason and Mom tried to continue arguing, but recognizing that the conversation was fruitless, I decided to retreat with my brother before the situation escalated further. Since then, we have been completely outraged with Mom. We feel stripped of my father's last possessions, deprived of the opportunity to decide what to do with those belongings, stripped of a sense of closure. As if all this were not enough, my mother has been messaging us constantly. She talks about how Jason feels humiliated by our confrontation. She claims that we were overly aggressive, making him feel insignificant and ashamed. Now she insists that we owe him an apology for our behavior. So, Reddit, Sila? Update 1. A week has passed since my post. While my brother and I remain outraged and try to determine our next step, considering possible legal action against our mother and Jason for getting rid of the boxes, we also recognize how much effort it would involve. We have evaluated our options looking for the best way forward without creating more chaos in our lives, because at the end of the day, we are still processing the pain of losing Dad. And then, out of the blue, my mother announced her engagement to Jason. Yes, you read that correctly. Our mother has decided to marry the man who disrespected us, our father, and showed no remorse whatsoever for throwing away his belongings. She didn't even have the courtesy to inform us directly. Instead, she made her big announcement on Facebook for all to see. Her post included multiple photographs of her and Jason in a loving mood, displaying her engagement ring as if starring in a romantic fairy tale. In the description, she enthusiastically expressed how no man had ever made her feel the way Jason did, and how he had made her happier than ever before in her life. Most painfully, she added that she wished she had met him sooner. His words seemed like a deliberate insult to my father's memory. How can he behave so nonchalantly, so happily, as if Dad hadn't passed away just a year ago? How can he write such things? He is consciously insulting Dad in the most public way possible, which is disgusting. Predictably, everyone is shocked and outraged. My grandparents, always the most loving and understanding people in our lives, are absolutely furious. They consider their actions a blatant disrespect to my father's memory. And they are right. My mother is currently exhibiting her new relationship in the most insensitive way imaginable. Update 2. It's been 2 weeks since my last update. For those who suggested suing our mother and Jason for throwing away the boxes, we have decided not to. Not because we agree with their actions, far from it, but because the legal process seems to be more emotionally costly than beneficial. Instead, my brother and I have made a clear decision. We will throw them out of the house. We plan to give them a formal eviction notice with 1 month's notice. Once they leave, we will rent the property to someone else at a considerably fairer price, closer to its real value. Selling it is not an option. This house represents our last tangible connection to our father. It is where we grew up, where we created so many memories with him, and there is no way we will abandon it. We are simply not ready to part with something so deeply linked to Dad's legacy. Just this week, my mom started distributing her wedding invitations. She even sent one to my brother and me. When we declined the invitation, she didn't get the message. She tried to contact us directly, acting as if we were in the wrong for refusing to attend. She asked us why we were still holding a grudge, as if this whole situation was just a minor misunderstanding and not the result of her repeated betrayals. She tried to manipulate us emotionally, insisting that, as her children, we had an obligation to support her on her special day, regardless of our feelings towards Jason. She even admitted that Jason's family does not fully accept her because of her age, and she begged us to attend the wedding to make it appear that she at least had the support of her own family. We categorically refused and unequivocally informed her that we did not wish to be involved with her or her wedding. We made it clear that she is no longer part of our lives or our family. For all the damage she has caused, she does not deserve to have us there pretending to be normal. Of course, instead of reflecting on her actions, my mother took to Facebook to play the victim. She posted dramatically about how some family members can betray you and how she is going through difficult times completely alone. It is ridiculous how she presents herself as the injured party when she has continually disrespected and hurt us. Update 3. After consulting with a lawyer, my brother and I sent our mother an official eviction notice. We also clearly informed her that if she did not move out within the established deadline, we were prepared to take legal action against Jason for discarding our father's belongings and would demand compensation for their value. This was not an empty threat. We are determined to hold them accountable for their actions. Predictably, my mother reacted badly to this news. She called us again, crying and furious, accusing us of being cruel and heartless. She claimed we had no right to kick her and Jason out of the house and complained about her preference for living in such a large property. It was almost comical, as if she expected us to ignore everything that had happened simply because she feels comfortable living there. But my brother and I stood our ground. We reiterated our resolve and made it clear that if she did not comply, we would not hesitate to take the matter to court. On top of that, my mother is furious that no one in the family is planning to attend her wedding. She blames us for turning everyone against her, which might be partly true. I have been very open about Jason's actions with my father's belongings and how disrespectful they both have been. I have given the full story to anyone who asks, and understandably, they are all disgusted by it. Many family members don't understand why she is rushing to marry someone so young, especially in these circumstances. It is not just about her moving on quickly after Dad's death, but also about her choice of partner and the total indifference shown to other people's feelings. The result is that my mother now has to leave the house. Whether or not she ends up marrying Jason is no longer our concern. We have set our limits and made it clear that we will no longer tolerate her selfishness or lack of respect. The whole situation has been exhausting and painful, but it has also taught us to stand up for ourselves. My brother and I are determined to protect what remains of our father's memory, and we will not allow anyone, especially our mother and Jason, to take it away from us. Update 4. 2 months have passed since my last update. As expected, my mother and Jason refused to respect our notice and leave the house on time. When the deadline arrived, Mom openly defied us, saying she would take us to court if we tried to execute the eviction. We anticipated it, but it was still painful. After everything that had happened, the last thing we wanted was to face more manipulation and control from her. At that point, my brother and I discussed how to proceed, and honestly, we decided to be somewhat petty. Just as my mother had been with us, we thought we would use her wedding as the perfect opportunity to show her the consequences of her actions. We knew that she and Jason would be absent all day celebrating their wedding, so we waited patiently for the right moment. When the day finally arrived, we executed our plan. As our keys still worked, we had full access to the house. We went in, packed up all of Jason and Mom's belongings, and placed them directly on the sidewalk. We didn't stop there. My brother and my uncle went the extra mile by replacing all the locks and installing security cameras, ensuring that they couldn't just come back as if nothing had happened. We wanted to make sure that if Mom and Jason tried to resist, we would have all the necessary evidence. To add drama to the moment, we invited some relatives to dinner that night. We all anticipated that Mom and Jason would not easily accept their eviction, and we wanted to witness their reaction. Late at night, Mom and Jason finally returned, clearly drunk. They clumsily tried to use their keys, repeatedly trying them in the lock, completely oblivious to the fact that we had already changed the locks. They were so focused on getting in that it took them a while to realize that something was wrong. Eventually, they began to bang on the door as they were unable to get in. At that moment, my brother and I opened the door and confronted them, asking them forcefully why they were trying to break into our house. Their faces reflected confusion and astonishment at seeing us there. My mother immediately started arguing, demanding to know why we were there and why we had changed the locks. But before anyone could continue, my grandfather, who was with us, intervened. He emphatically reminded him that this was our property, not his, and that we had already provided him with proper eviction notice. He made it absolutely clear that they no longer had any right to remain there. Jason predictably attempted to force his way in and continue the discussion. He was furious, his face red, as he tried to defend his supposed right to reside there. But my brother would not allow it. He and my uncle stood their ground, pushing Jason away when he tried to get closer. My brother then threatened to call the police if they didn't leave immediately. At that moment, I pointed to the sidewalk where we had neatly arranged all his belongings for them to pick up and leave without any further complications. I indicated to my mother unequivocally that they should simply take his things and leave, without further discussion or drama. For a moment, both Mom and Jason seemed indignant and humiliated. They tried to continue arguing, but they had clearly exhausted their options. They had no legal basis for resisting and finally understood that they could no longer manipulate us. So they finally left, defeated, humiliated, and with no alternative but to abandon the place. Since that night, we have completely blocked them from any form of contact, no phone calls or messages. It was liberating to take back Dad's house and finally take a firm stand. It felt like the ultimate act of justice we needed to take back control of our lives. This time, we have definitely cut ties with them.